everybody, and thank you so much for coming along to join me here at Totnosh HQ, where today we're going to be making some lemon and white chocolate cookies. Yum, they're delicious. Now you might be making these as a surprise for Mum and Gran for Mother's Day, or you might be having a nice cook along with Mum and Gran as a present. But whichever one it is, I hope that you really enjoy cooking along with us today, and of course eating your delicious cookies. Okay, so let's get started. Now, wait a second, I always forget this. Is there something that we need to do before we start cooking? I wonder if you can remember at home. I always forget. Ah, that's right. We need to wash our hands. So if you need to go wash your hands, then you can just pop us on pause and wash your hands, and then we will get started. So we are going to be making 5 of these cookies today. So let's have a look through our ingredients and check that we've got everything that we need. So I need some unsalted butter. Now this is being softened just at room temperature. It's just been left out so it's not really hard and it makes it quite difficult to cook with. And I have, 1 lemon. Lovely. And we've got some of this. So this sugar is called muscovado sugar. Okay, so we need some of that and also some caster sugar as well. We also need half an egg, so I've got my eggs here. We'll half the egg once it's cracked. Can't just have half an egg there, it would be a bit silly, wouldn't it? And then we've got some plain flour here. And then in this tub I've got mixed together some baking powder and bicarbonate of soda. And that just will make our cookies rise a wee bit. And then, of course, the favourite, I've got some white chocolate here. Okay, and all the equipment that I'm going to use today, I've got a couple of mixing bowls and a little sieve. I've got a grater and a plate. I've got a chopping board. I've got a little whisk to whisk up my egg, but you can just use a fork if you don't have a whisk, that's fine. And some spoons for measuring, a knife, and of course my weighing scales, because we need to weigh everything out quite accurately. Okay, now before we start, we're going to pop the oven on to 180 degrees, okay? No higher than that, because otherwise we don't want to burn the cookies. So 180 degrees, if a grown-up pops the oven on just now, and we will get started. Now the first thing that we're going to do is use this grater. Now I wonder why we would use a grater when we're making cookies. We're not going to grate the flour, are we? And we're not going to grate the sugar, or certainly not going to grate the eggs, that would be very messy. No, we are going to grate our lemon. And what we want to use in our cookies is the zest of the lemon. And the zest of the lemon is really just the skin, okay? So the yellow skin, this is what we want. And when we grate it, it'll all start coming away and leave the white underneath, okay? Now, we want to grate about half of the lemon, okay? Only about half. So we want half of the lemon zest. This is quite a big lemon I've got today, isn't it? And when I use my grater for this, I'm not going to use the big side. So I'm not going to use this really big side here to grate it because I don't want really big lemon zest. And I'm not going to use this teeny tiny side. I wonder if you can see. I'll come round a wee bit. I'm not going to use this teeny tiny side. I'm going to use this bit here. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that I hold my grater steady with this hand, and I'm just going to grate. Oh, that's a nice knife, isn't it? I'm just going to grate half. Oh, I can smell it. Oh, can you smell it as you're grating it? It's lovely. What a lovely fresh smell. So as you can see, I'm grating it and it's starting to go white. So we don't want the white bits, we just want the yellow skin. Oh, but you can really smell it. And this is what is called the zest of the lemon. And this is what we're going to put in our cookies. So I'm just going to keep grating it. It's quite noisy, isn't it? It's quite a noisy thing to grate a lemon. And as I say, we just want about half of the lemon here. Oh, that's a wee bit at the bottom. Now there won't be loads and loads. I can't see, is that half? A wee bit more I think I'll do. Okay. There we go. Oh, it's so noisy. We've built up lots of muscles doing that though, won't we? And then I'm just going to give this a wee shake just to make sure all the bits are off. so there is my lemon zest. Can you see that? Great. Okay, so we're going to start getting everything together into our bowl. So I've got my scales here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my butter first of all. So we want 40 grams of unsalted butter. So if you've got your scales there, what you want to do is make sure that they're on, and then I'm going to pop I've just got a little plate that I'm going to use to measure my butter. Now, the plate says 37, so I need to make sure I press that, and it goes back to 0. Oh, it's not going. That would be helpful. So back to 0, and then we're going to measure out our butter, okay? So 40 grams, I'm looking for a 4 and a 0. Oh, so I wonder how close will you get first time. Let's see how close I've got. I couldn't have made that up. That's 40 grams there exactly. Wow, okay. That doesn't usually happen. So don't think that was a total fluke there. Okay, so now I'm going to chop this into little bits. Okay, so if the butter's quite soft, you should be able just to use a normal knife. I'm using a wee bit of a sharper knife. Mine isn't quite soft enough yet. And we're just going to chop it into little pieces. Okay. Oh, it's quite sticky, isn't it? Into little pieces. And this will just make it easier to mix around with our other things. Okay, whoops. So into little pieces. And then I'm going to pop this into my bowl. Okay, pop that over there. So I'm going to grab my bowl, first of all, and then pop my butter in. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to add is my sugars. So now what I'm going to do is pop this bowl onto my scales and make sure it's at, that's right, 0. So make sure it's at 0. Oh, my scales are very slow today. That's it there. Okay, and then we're going to add the sugar. So remember we were using our muscovado sugar, okay, and we want 22 grams. So I'm at 0. And I'm going to look for a 2 and a 2. I'm not going to get this first time, definitely not. No. 12, 21, oh, 22. So 22 grams of that, and then I want 22 grams of my caster sugar as well. So again, I'm going to press it to 0. And I'm going to add in 22, 15, 19, 20, 22. There we go. And then we're also going to add in our lemon zest. Okay, now I'm just going to take a wee spoon and just scrape the inside, just to make sure that I've got all of that out, because sometimes it does tend to stick. And then, that's in. And then, now this is the tricky part. So then we need to mix this together. We need to cream it together. Okay, so I'm going to get a wooden spoon. And this is where we need big, strong muscles. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to mix this together. Now, the butter's still quite hard, so it makes it a bit trickier. But if you kind of press the butter up to the sides of the bowl, so just pressing it up, and that will start to soften it, and it will start to mix in with our sugars. And this is why I always say all this cooking really does keep you fit. Oh, my arm's sore already. Builds up lots of muscles. All this stirring and whisking and creaming, and goodness me. And sometimes, I don't have a seat here, but sometimes if you have a wee seat and do it, it makes it a little bit easier. So this might be one that whoever's helping you might have to have a go at. So we're just creaming this together. Now the softer your butter is before you start, and you don't want to put it in the microwave then, and you just want to leave it out so that it softens at room temperature. but you don't want to really put it in the microwave or anything else to melt it. You just want it to soften naturally on its own. Oh my goodness, I'm still going here. So I'll come and show you. It is starting to come together a bit, but what you want to do is just really do it up against the sides of the bowl and just kind of pressing the butter up, and that will help soften it all. Okay, just up at the side, and oh my goodness, we're getting there. We are getting there. It does just take a wee bit of time. This is the most difficult part. And once this is done, I think we should all deserve a wee rest. We'll certainly need a cookie anyway, won't we, to get our energy back. Okay. So nearly done. That's it, nearly creamed together. And we want it to be mixed together till it's nice and light and fluffy. So nearly a couple more stirs from me, and I think that would be mine ready. If it's taking a wee bit longer for you, just pause the video, and once you've got this all creamed together, you can restart it again. Although maybe I'm taking longer, maybe you've been finished ages ago and you're saying, Louisa, what's the next bit? Okay, right, that's mine all nicely creamed together. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an egg. Now I only want half of an egg, so I'm going to grab another bowl actually for my rubbish. So I'm going to crack my egg. And this is good fun, isn't it? Do you like cracking eggs? I do, when I don't make a mess of them, that is. So I'm going to crack it 1, 2, 3. Oh, and it's not open. 1, 2, 3 this time. And then just pull it apart. Okay? And if you get any eggshell in it, then just use another bit of the eggshell to scoop it out, because eggshell attracts eggshell. Okay? And then what have I done with my little whisk that I had? Oh, I've lost it. Here it is, right in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to whisk this up. Oh, my arm's too tired actually from all that. So whisk it up. And then, this is quite a tricky bit, we're just going to add half into here. So I'm just going to give this one more little stir. And then we're going to add half. Now, we want to just add it a little at a time. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put half into here, because it's quite difficult to control egg when you're doing this. So half into there. Oh, a little more. Okay, and then I can add it a little bit at a time. Okay, so we're just going to add a little bit of the egg in. Just a teeny tiny bit. And then I'm going to mix that around. And then once all that's mixed in, I'll add a little bit more. We don't want to add it all in at the same time. Okay, so then we'll add a little bit more. Okay. Oh my goodness, it's all sticking to the spoon. Okay, so a little bit more. And then my last bit. And then give that a really good stir round. So all the egg is mixed in really, really well. Okay, fabulous. Right, so now we're going to measure out our flour, and we want 100 grams of plain flour. So we're using plain flour for this one, okay? And I'm just going to pop a little sieve over. Oh no, I'm not going to pop over there. Silly me. I'm going to put my flour in there and then I'm going to sift it through there. So my flour is here. So I pop my bowl on my scales and I'm going to make sure that's at 0. Yeah. And then I'm going to measure out 100 grams. There we go. 88, oh, 96, oh, 95, 100. Okay, and then I'm just going to add, now it's a pinch of baking powder and a pinch of bicarbonate of soda. So I'm going to just take a little teaspoon, and I'm just going to add, I'm going to show you around here actually, a bit nearer. Just going to add about this much on the end of my spoon, my teaspoon. Okay? And I'm going to add that in, just mix it around. And then I'm going to sift this into my mixture. So this is all sticking to the spoon. I'm just going to scrape that off a wee bit. That's it. And then I'm going to just put this through my sieve. Oops, making sure it all goes in. And then just gently shake it. Oh, that's it. And that's it all in. And then I'm going to mix that together really well. Okay, now it's starting to look like a cookie dough. Yum. Okay, now you really need to mix this well because it's quite floury, and you need to make sure that all the flour gets absorbed and it's starting to come together like a nice cookie dough. Okay, so you can see now mine's is starting, that's all the flour away. And it's starting to really come together like a cookie dough. Now, just before it starts coming properly together, we're going to add our next bit. So it is our chocolate. Okay, so we need 50 grams of white chocolate. So I'm going to just pop my plate to 0. And then, again, I'm going to use my big strong muscles to try and break this chocolate up. So 50 grams. Oops. My scales don't want to work today, I don't think. Let me see. 50 grams. There we go. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40. Oh, goodness me. There we go. 50 grams. And what I'm going to do is just chop this up. Now, you might need a grown-up to do this with a sharper knife, okay? We just want to chop it up into chunks, not too small. It's quite nice having the big chocolate chunks here. But I'm just going to chop them all up into big, really big sized chunks. Oh, there we go. And then we're going to add this into our cookie mixture. And then we're going to bring it all together using our hands. So into nice, fairly big chunks. It's lovely when you have a big gooey cookie and you get a massive big chunk of chocolate, isn't it? Okay, so that's them all chopped, and I'm going to add that in there, stir it round, and then I'm going to just get my hands in and start forming it together into a proper dough. So the heat of your hand will soften the butter a little bit more and make this into a nice cookie dough. Oh, that looks delicious. Now, we're making 5 cookies here. So I'm going to split this into 5. I'm going to try and make them equal. We'll see how that goes. So you can even use your knife and just cut 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that one at the end doesn't look very big. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll these up into balls, and let's see if they're roughly about the same size. I mean, obviously if there's one bigger, then that could be the one to test, just to make sure they taste okay. Right, so I think they look about the right size, that's fine. And then I'm just going to very gently flatten them out and pop them onto a baking tray. Now when you pop them onto the baking tray, just make sure they're nice and well spaced out, because they do tend to expand out the way when they're cooking. So just nice and thin. Oh, look at the big chunks of chocolate in that one. Lovely. So just roll them into balls, and then we're just flatten them down a bit. You can even flatten them out on the baking tray if that's easier. Just make sure that they're nice and well spaced out. Yeah, you can see that. Because they do get bigger when you put them in the oven. Okay. Oops, that one's stuck. And one more. Now you're going to put these in the oven for just about 12 minutes. So flatten that out. Oops. Oh no, that chocolate's come out of this one. They're starting to get very sticky once they're a bit too hot. So there you go. And pop that one there. And then you're going to pop them in the oven for just about 12 minutes. When they come out, they will still be quite soft, but they will harden up as they cool. So take them out, put them on a cooling rack if you've got, and leave them to cool. And then you will have some delicious white chocolate, oh, I don't know if you can see these, white chocolate and lemon cookies. Okay, so you can either eat them straight away when they're nice and warm and gooey, or you can pop them in your presentation box along with your other cookies that you're going to make and give them to someone special for Mother's Day. Hope you enjoy!